Indian unicorn 111 is Zepto, and it's the first unicorn of 2023 here in India. They've raised a massive round of $200 million from their investors at a valuation of $1.4 billion. And this is really interesting because just a couple of months ago, pretty much all of Indian business media had declared quick commerce dead. They called it a bubble, it was a fad, and that the hype was coming to an end. And for good reason. I mean, if you look at Zepto's competitors, Blinkit got sold for less money than they had ever raised all of those years, and Dunzo is struggling to pay their employees salaries. So the obvious question asked here is, what makes Zepto different? Why have they been able to thrive during a funding winter when their competitors have been struggling? Well, here's what Zepto's co-founder Adit Balicha had to say about this. Most people don't realize this, but businesses that are driven by supply chain and are operationally intense are fundamentally about execution. He was talking to TechCrunch when he said this, and he followed this up by saying the high-level elements that people keep throwing, existence of deep-pocketed competitors, who all is on the cap table, etc., don't matter. What matters is the basis point by basis point execution and discipline with which you're governing every inch of your supply chain. And at the end of the day, love Zepto or hate Zepto, this is what good business is all about. It's about finding a problem and solving it flawlessly, executing and basically controlling your business to eke out a profit. And actually, Zepto on a store level is EBITDA positive at the moment, and they're planning in the next 12 to 15 months to be EBITDA positive on a company level as well. Now, the other co-founder of Zepto, Kaival Yavora, has attributed their profitable growth to superior technology and product stack that they built to identify the behavior of their users and make sure that their orders are delivered on time and as quickly as possible. Now, Zepto is present in 7 cities at the moment, and they're currently doing 300,000 orders every single day. Their revenue on an annualized basis is currently sitting at $700 million, and they've been able to accomplish this in just 2 years, which is pretty incredible. They're going to be using these funds for expansion. They want to move into new cities, and they also want to go deeper into the cities that they already have a presence in. Oh, and the reason why they're aiming towards profitability is that they're actually planning on going public in 2025. But now let's talk about the competitor of Zepto, Dunzo. And unlike Zepto, Dunzo is really not doing well at the moment. Things are going from bad to worse. So just to recap, earlier this year, Dunzo had deferred the salary of 500 of their employees, which is about 50% of their workforce, for the month of June, and they pushed those salaries to July 20th. Then though, they pushed that deadline further until September, and now the company says they won't be able to pay those salaries by September either, and the new deadline is October. So Dunzo is in a really tough spot. There's really 3 things that they could do here. 1, they could lay off more people so that they can afford to pay their existing employees, but that would be a bad option because they already laid off 400 people earlier this year. Option number 2 is that they could pay those salaries, and they could pay them now, but that would probably kill the business. They need that money to operate their company. And then the third option, which is what they're doing right now, is deferring salaries, which seems to be the best option for the majority of people and also the company at large. Dunzo gets to fight another day. Employees get to stay employed even though they have to suffer for a little while. But let's hope that Dunzo actually meets these deadlines, because this is already 2 months of salary backlog for half of their workforce. They had promised to clear the salary for the month of August by the 4th of September, so let's hope that they keep that deadline. It's coming up pretty soon. Dunzo has already burned $150 million in the last 18 months, essentially chasing the success of Zepto, which it hasn't been able to achieve. And the other tricky thing about this situation, the thing that makes it even more messy for Dunzo, is the fact that 26% of the company is owned by Reliance Retail. And so the company's other investors apart from Reliance Retail, want Dunzo to cut their valuation so that they can go out and raise funds, because currently they're overvalued, and so no one wants to invest at that valuation. But because Reliance Retail has the power to veto that decision, they don't want them to cut the valuation because they might lose the value of their investment if the company's valuation doesn't increase later on in the future. Now, Reliance is a big business, and they got big by being smart, by being ruthless. In business, you kind of have to be. And so some people are speculating that this might all be part of the plan, and they actually want Dunzo to fail so that they can buy them at a bargain. And they did the same thing with Urban Ladder and Milk Basket. So this would actually be part of a pattern for Reliance Retail. All right, next up, another struggling company, Byju. So there have been a number of high-level exits at the company in this last week, including the chief business officer stepping down. Now, apart from the CBO, you also have the business head of Byju's tuition center stepping down, and the business head for class 4 to 10 quitting the company. Oh, and then also you have the CEO of White Hat Jr. quitting as well. So it's just been a terrible week for Byju's. I can't overstate that. People are jumping ship, and people don't jump ship unless the ship is sinking. Now, apart from these high-level exits, US-based asset management company Baron Capital has also cut Byju's valuation by almost half, reducing it from $22 billion down to $11.7 billion. And one other aside here relating to Baron Capital is that they increased Swiggy's valuation by 34% to $8.5 billion. All right, next up, I want to talk about something more positive here. Galaxeye Space is a very ambitious Bengaluru-based space tech startup. So what these guys are planning to do is launch the world's first multi-sensor imaging satellite for Earth observation purposes. So today, most satellites are MSIs, multispectral imagers, which basically means that they have a camera that images the Earth from space. But the thing is that if there's a cloud blocking this camera's image of Earth, then it's basically useless. And on Earth, there's a lot of clouds. It often rains. And so this means that these cameras are ineffective a lot of the time. Then though, there's another type of satellite which has a camera called SAR, synthetic aperture radar, which uses radar to map the ground from space. So unlike MSI, SAR is able to penetrate through clouds and rain to map the surface of the Earth, and it's kind of like an X-ray image for the surface of the Earth, but the thing is that most people don't understand how to read these images. And so what Galaxeye is trying to do is combine the two of these, taking MSI and SAR and combining them together to give businesses a high-resolution images from space that can be taken in any weather conditions. They're planning on executing Mission Drishti, which is the mission where they'll be launching this multi-sensor imaging satellite in 2024. All right, next up, our startup of the week this week is called Hati, and what they're doing is making it easier for Indian brands and artisans to export their products to people around the world. And I'll let the founder, Carmen, tell you more about our company.
Hi everyone, my name is Carmen, and I want to introduce Hati. Hati is a cross-border fulfillment service and marketplace for emerging Indian brands and artisans. Small Indian brands do not have the scale or expertise to set up their own exporting and fulfillment channels around the world. So they typically ship retail orders one by one from India to international customers. The result is customers end up with expensive delivery charges, long wait times, and little to no support for returns and exchanges. All of this make up for a poor buying experience for customers. With Hati, brands simply send the inventory to one of our export hubs in India. Hati takes over from there. We export the products, import in the destination country, and stage the inventory in Hati fulfillment network closer to the customers. When our sellers receive orders on Hati shopping app or across any of their sales channels, we pick, pack, and deliver on time.
So Carmen did an exceptional job of framing the problem that they're solving over at Hati and the solution that they're building in a 60-second or less video. So if you want a chance for your startup to be featured in our Startup of the Week segment, all you have to do is head over to towardsventures.com, upload a 60-second or less video that you recorded with your smartphone, and we might feature you in this segment. And by the way, this is completely for free, and normally people pay us for these slots, so it's really a no-brainer if you want a bit of free publicity for your business. All right, next up, let's talk about the funding news that happened in India's startup ecosystem this week. So $49.15 million were raised across the entire ecosystem, which is pretty average, and it does look low compared to last week when Zepto raised their $200 million Series E. But in context, $49 million really isn't that bad, especially given some of the terrible weeks that we've had in Q2 so far. So let's take a look at some of these companies. Leading the charge this week, we have MediBuddy, a comprehensive healthcare platform based in Bengaluru. They raised $18 million, which was a bit of a bridge round. They raised $125 million in their Series C in Feb of 2022, but this $18 million should tide them over until their Series D. Then we also have another space tech startup, Satsure, and this is a Bengaluru-based deep tech satellite startup that raised $15 million in their Series A this week. These guys are helping stakeholders in the agriculture, BFSI, and public sectors to make informed decisions using satellite data, and Satsure is processing this data using AI as well. And then one last company that I thought was interesting and worth mentioning is Scrap Uncle, a platform where you can sell your recyclables online. They're based in Delhi, and they raised 3.7 crore rupees in their pre-seed round. As always, the Notion where I've been keeping track of all of these deals will be linked in the description down below, as well as the chart where you can see week on week how much Indian startups are raising. All right, that is all I have for you guys this week, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.